Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. This episode is about expired Kodak Elite Chrome 200, one of the three musketeers. So I got this film out of the box and I don't really know exactly the expiration date, but I bought a second roll with it that came inside the box, and it's exactly the same roll, and it was expired in February 2008, so that's about 10 years expired. But that actually shouldn't have any influence because it's slide film, and slide film you don't really need to compensate in order to get good pictures. Anyway, that's what we want to try with this episode. So this roll will be shot in 3 stages. The first stage is 18 pictures at box speed. The second stage is 12 pictures at 1 stop overexposed, and the third stage is 2 stops overexposed. And then we will see some conclusions about what should be done with slide film. So, and as for the equipment, we will use exactly the same equipment we used for the episode on expired Ilford HP5 Plus, which was the Canon 50mm 1.8, the Pentacon 29mm 2.8, and for the body we will use again the Canon EOS 300.
Following the last 2 episodes on expired negative color and expired negative black and white films, on this episode we will be shooting expired positive, slide or diapositive film, which is all the same. This is a flea market film, so I have no idea how it was stored all these years, and this adds a wonderful mysterious veil. I don't even know if we are going to get any pictures out of this roll. So, and why are we shooting this episode this way? Well, I've seen recently people arguing over if we should or not shoot also slide film with the rule of thumbs, which basically is 1 stop overexposed per decade of expiration. From my experience, that's not necessary. I have shot a lot of expired slide in the past, and I think shooting at box speed is in general a good idea. Anyway, I think it's a great opportunity to test this here on the channel, and we can all together see the results and then make our own conclusions. If it's not familiar to you, Elite Chrome is a reversal film. And what is a reversal film? It's a type of film that produces a positive image on a transparent base. And that means that when you develop it, you already get this small real colors image instead of a negative. It was very popular in the past to mount these transparencies in the plastic frame and to use a slide projector to view the images. It was kinda hardware predecessor of Microsoft PowerPoint. As to the film itself, it's a E6 process film, and it features the T-grain structure. Kodak puts it this way. The film offers moderate contrast along with excellent color and image structure. Because it features the T-grain structure, we can expect it to have very fine grain and to be very sharp. Kodak Elite Chrome was part of the Select series, which consisted of Kodak Chrome, Elite Chrome and Royal Gold. Hence, the 3 musketeers. Have you ever had the pleasure of shooting the 3 of them? I'm sure not so many people can answer positively to this question, but if you are one of those lucky people, please let us know on the comment section below.
I just got the film and the scans from the lab, and I must say I'm totally happy and amazed by the results. The film, it's here. It has this very nice magenta color shifting, as you can see. This was not cross-processed, this was done in a professional lab. They do E6 film once a week, so I'm pretty sure they didn't mess up the development of this film. You can also achieve this with cross-processing, for example, with C41 chemicals on E6 film, and the shifting can be in the direction of magenta, green, blue. It really depends on the film and on the chemicals. So I would say let's dive into the computer and have a look at the images. So guys, this is my laptop, and here you can see the images as they came from the lab. They have been not yet run through an editing program. I have divided them in 3 folders: box speed, +1 stop, and +2 stops. This folder has the images already run through editing program, and I will show them later at the end of this episode. So let's start with the images at box speed. So here we have the 18 images that we shot at box speed, and here we can see that yeah, the image is overall well exposed. I would say that here on the building that is white is reflecting a lot of light, and the film couldn't hold it, so we have a lot of blown highlights. The shadows are not that bad. I would say that there's still some good detail on the shadows. You can see here the letters that are themselves dark, but it's still possible to see. One of the things that it's amazing is this film is so sharp. You can see here all the details on the sock, which was fairly away from me, and yeah, it's very small details that still are possible to perceive on the image. And there's not much grain. Well, this is film, there's always grain, but the grain is not so much. But I would say it's a little bit more than actually fresh slide film. Let's have a look at another image, this one for example, and this is actually what I think represents the best at box speed, which is a very good zone, very well exposed, but then there's no details on the shadows. We can see the tip of his nose, we can have a little glimpse here of his nostril, but there is no eyes, there is no anything. Everything that is a little bit darker, it has this magenta hue, and there's no details. We can see something similar here. The skin is very well exposed, but then the shadows are not having much detail. They are just muddy and magenta. So let's get into the one stop overexposed. So as for the images at one stop overexposed, we can start with this one. It's a nice image. I like how it has been exposed. We have a very light sky, which is not blown. We have this part, the sun was on my left side behind me, and this part was getting hit directly by the sun, and this part not. And as you can see, there's a lot of detail here, and there's also a lot of detail here. You can see the different contrasts in the facade, and yeah, it's very well exposed, I would say. Again, if we come, for example, to this one, we get about the same. Here the highlights are a little bit blown, and they turned a little bit greenish. This is the background was vegetation, which was green. This part is a very light blue, I think you can have an idea, and these parts are red, a little bit rusty. yeah, that you can see how have an idea of how the color is shifting here. But again, I would say that the general photograph is very well exposed, except here for the highlights on the sky. Maybe we can have a look at another one, maybe this one. Again, the guy is very well exposed. Here, a little bit overexposed and turned green. Here, a little bit underexposed, but still we can have we can see the details. There's a person here, there's the lights, there's the facade of the building. Here, not so much, but I would say it's fairly good. So let's get into the two stops overexposed. So these are the 6 images at 2 stops overexposed, and as we can see, this part, which is the shadow, the shade part of the street, has good detail, but his trousers that were light blue are totally messed up. This is a no-go. I would say that 2 stops overexposed, it's just too much. Another one, maybe this one, it's also looking, yeah, I would say the general idea from this picture is also too much overexposed. There is not much to do here. I would say this is a no-go with this slide film. So guys, what can we conclude from these images? Well, I would say that at box speed we have no blown highlights in general, except if you have a source with a very high intense source of light, like this region here. But unless that is the case, I would say that there are no blown highlights. But the shades are a little bit muddy, so I get the feeling that generally the image is a little bit underexposed. As for one stop overexposed, I would say that generally there are good details on the highlights. There's generally good details on the shadows, and I would say that generally the image is well exposed. As for 2 stops overexposed, I would say that, yeah, highlights are totally blown away. There's good details on the shadows, and overall the image is overexposed. And this contradicts a little bit the internet opinion on this image on slide film, which says basically that slide film doesn't lose sensitivity, therefore you don't really need to overexpose it. You don't need to do as in C41 negative film. You don't need to overexpose 1 stop per decade of expiration. I would say that from this experience, we can clearly see that the film lost a lot of latitude. Well, in general, E6 film is not a really forgiving film. There's very little latitude on E6 film, but I would say in this case it's even lower. We can see that the details on highlights get blown very fast, and also on the shadows. But I would say it's not that bad to overexposed slide film 1 stop. Sometimes it can be too much, as we have seen on the images, but sometimes it's also good. So I think depending on the situation, if you have the possibility, maybe if you see that there are zones that are much in the shadow, maybe you should overexpose 1 stop. So box speed is okay. For me, 1 stop overexposing is better. 2 stops, it's a no-go. Maybe we can try again this later on this channel. Maybe get a 20 years expired slide film and do exactly the same. Some images at box speed, 1 stop overexposed and 2 stops overexposed to see what the results are. As this one was about 10 years expired, and we should have like a comparison to see what happens if it's 20 years, if 2 stops give good results, or as in this one, it's just too much. So guys, it's everything for this episode. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you like this, please subscribe. Leave your comment, leave your thoughts on the comment section below, and like and share if you care to support the channel. Until the next episode.